Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Dear students, hope you are having a good time. And today we're going to continue with our lecture that we were talking about human resource management and its roles. And in the previous slides, we talked about basically the errors that can happen while you'll be advertising for a post. In this lecture, we'll be talking about selection tools. So what are the most famous selection tools that are available to us? First tool is application form. Second one is written test. Third one are performance simulation test. And then interviews, background investigation of the applicants, and physical examination. So almost most of the these are not the hard and fast rules, but these are the tools that we are available if you are trying to select a target applicant for a job. So mostly you'll see an application form, and if the application form is not there, they can be a call for an interview, and sometimes they just ignore these background investigations or physical examination. But these are all the important things if most of the human resource management they can ideally look for them, because they give a very interesting and very informative insights about the candidate. So let's go and look one by one. So if you have an idea about the application form, it's the form that has been given by the company on which they need their information, and this is going to be a specific kind of information they are looking for. They might need information about the applicants' work experience. They might ask him to get the information about qualifications. Work experience, qualifications. Any certifications, any trainings they have received, and all the required information that you can give within the application form. So nowadays, because we know that is most of the time it is because online, so most of the companies they can get this information online, so they can ask the candidate to upload their work experience certificates, their job, their qualification certificates, any trainings they have received. And if you're hiring international candidates, we can ask them to upload the passport and other relevant information, you know. So application forms, they have their own strengths and weaknesses. So these application forms are mostly universally used. So in which we now ask about the name, father name, their date of birth, so and then the work experience, qualification. All right, so yes, I think Muhammad Hassan, you have some problem at your side. So the thing is, these are the information that are universally required. And the second strength is that these are most useful for gathering information. So if the company gives you a form to fill in, it gives them a very good insight into the job applicants. So these are proven data that you can have it. So you can also use this application form information to predict the job performance of a candidate, because you'll have a data about a candidate's his working experience and kind of the qualification he has got and the CGPA he has So it tells a lot about the candidate or how many years he has got of work experience. So a job application form is a very crucial, and it gives you lots of information about the candidates. So this is the most standard kind of a tool through which we can get the data about the applicant. What can be the weakness? As we talked in our previous class, that most of the time when students they casually they fill in the forms, or casually they work on the CVs and covering letters. So but the companies nowadays, they are using AI tools. So if they put it in the AI tool, and if you do not have used the specific number of keywords, then there can be a problem that you might not be shortlisted. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a form. It's not the human being. Sometimes you can see a person whose grades are very low. Okay, so during his qualification, and you might consider that he may not be the right person for the job, but as a person, he is very, very productive at performance. So this can give you a misleading information. So that's why this weakness of application form is overcome by conducting the interviews. So interviews gives us more insight into the individual and a human being. So this is it about the application form. The next mechanism or the tool that we have got to select employees is that the organizations, the human resource management, they can conduct written interviews. And the most crucial thing is that they must be linked to the job. So what we have noticed is that most of the time they are conducting a test, but these texts are, even though they are intelligence-based, they're aptitude-based, you are trying to measure the ability of the candidate and the personality test, but sometimes they are not directly linked with the job for which we are trying to have. So this is a high-level aptitude test. They must be linked with the job. This can be a crucial aspect. So these tests are mostly done to measure the intelligence of a candidate and to check his aptitude towards the job and his abilities, if he can do the job or not. And sometimes they are about the personality. So what kind of a person is he, and it can be about his interest test. So these are all different kinds of tests they conduct. Sometimes companies hire other companies to conduct these tests for them. So these are again a good predictors for the supervisory positions, and if you are trying to hire someone on a bit higher level, then you might need to conduct these tests. So for these, a candidate must make himself familiarized with these kind of tests when they are trying to apply for these, or at least if the test is from their educational background, they have to make themselves familiarized with them as well. So there are like different kind of performance simulation tests that are also an option for the company, in which they just measure the performance of the candidates, how they will perform and at the work. So this is a testing an applicant's ability to perform actual job behavior. They are used required skills. Do they have the required skills or not? And would they be able to demonstrate specific knowledge of the job? So what they do is basically either they can go for a work sampling technique, which is requiring applicants to actually perform a task or set of tasks that are central to successful job performance. So what they will be doing is they might be asking them to, and they might give them a scenario and they must ask them to conduct the jobs, or if there's a skill-based job, so they would like to see the skills. In the computer sciences, we have noticed that if a candidate applies for a job and he says like, I have got a good command on Java, so the applicant and he says like, I've got like 3 years plus working experience with the Java. So what they can do is they ask them to sit on a computer and write a program for them and demonstrate like they can do this. So they just give them like some time, half an hour, and they just see they can do this. So they just give them like some time, half an hour, and they just see his programming skills. And that is really what happened to a couple of my friends as well. So similarly, someone is a content writer, someone is an artist, or even if someone applies for a management role, you might be given a scenario, or sometimes they are asked to come and present and do some leadership kind of traits they have to exhibit. So there can be numerous different kind of work sampling exercises. The same thing can be asked by assessment centers to do. So there can be dedicated facilities in which job candidates undergo a series of performance simulation tests to evaluate their managerial potential. So because these assessment centers are specialized and they can be having a very well-established mechanism to assess as compared to the organization. So they might ask you to go to the assessment centers, and these assessment centers does this and evaluate the candidates. And we have seen this for the competition exams, and we can also see for some armed forces. They also conduct these assessment centers from where they just get the feedback about the candidate. And another tool that is very important and that is more frequently being used, and you are very much familiar with that, is the interviewing mechanism. We have discussed about it at length during our lectures. So interviews is, although used almost universally, the managers need to approach interview carefully. So what we have seen is that it is the most subjective thing, to be honest. We have talked about tests, we have about written tests, and the forms and evaluating the candidates' eligibility. They are objectives, but the most subjective thing is this interview. So it is the most crucial thing for a candidate because it is very subjective to the boss or the CEO or the person who is conducting an interview. So if he or she does not feel good about the candidate, and if he or she is not experienced enough, or if he or she is not asking the right questions, or somehow the candidate is not addressing the questions the way he or she would like, so there can be a chances of bias. So by having said this, interview is the most crucial part in which those managers sitting on the other side of the table, they have their expectations, and the candidate has to fulfill those expectations. So there can be lots of discussion we can conduct on the importance of interviews and how the candidate should carry his personality and should undertake the interviews. But we all understand that it's the most important of the things for selecting appropriate candidates. And there's a very famous hero in the Hollywood. His name is George Clooney. George Clooney, he says that When I used to go for the interviews, I used to get nervous. So every time I used to go for this interviews, I get nervous. So one time I thought like the way I am nervous to get to this job, similarly these selectors, they are sitting on the other side of the table. They are also anxiously waiting to get a right kind of an candidate. So he says, like, ever since I've just thought about it, that I am the right candidate for the job that they are looking for. He says, like, the tension that he used to have it, that has been shifted toward the other side, and he became relaxed, and that has made him to become selected, so that is one of the thing that interview, when the interviewees goes for the interview, they should not be nervous, they should just give their best. And once an interview they shortlisted the candidate, the next step is to check their background. So background information is very important, in which they are basically verifying the applicant's data, whatever they have, the data they have shared with the company, and they also check the references. So this is related to the validity of the candidate. So if the candidate is selected and if he is not being reference checked, so there may be chances that you might come across with a surprise kind of findings, because the way he behaves at work. So it's always good to the companies, they just call the references and to just try to ensure that they get the positive outcome. So imagine if you don't get a positive outcome about a candidate, his colleagues, they say that he was a person who used to give us tough time, who was not cooperative, he was not helpful, he does not know how to do the job. So that can be a real good insight for you to be considering while you are selecting a candidate. Then in certain kind of jobs, you need to get a physical examination. So it's useful for physical requirement and for insurance purposes, because some companies, they get the insurance for the employees. So they must have to have a understanding of the physical condition of the candidate. So if their physical condition is good, they will be productive for the company. But if they are not physically fit, then they might not be giving the 100%. But the physical condition is more for the forces, armed forces, or other security agencies than for the other jobs. But this is one of the requirements that the company can consider. Now we have to look at the employees' needed skills and knowledge. So we know that an employee that is coming from outside the organization, they don't know nothing about the organization. So organization, they have their own norms and values, and like the different departments, the way they are doing the operations. So there is a great need of conducting an orientation, which is like telling them about the company and giving them a know-how about the company. So it's education that introduces a new employee to his or her job and the organization. So what in this process we do is we make them familiarize with the work unit in which he is working and the organizational orientation. So if he is working, like he's working in the Department of Management, so he's made to meet all the colleagues in the department, and then he is also shown around the whole institution, so he should know where is administration building, where is like other facilities at the work, and what are the name of his colleagues, which are the colleagues with whom he will be or she'll be meeting frequently. So And this is one of the most important dimension of the organization. So it is very important that the new employee feels warmth and welcoming behavior from the other employees. But if he feels like there's a cold behavior, so there are chances that most of the candidates, they are in a process of switching job, and they might not consider your organization to be a most ideal for them, so they might not consider coming to your company even though you are offering them good salaries. So this is just to make an impression on the new candidates, and it is worth it that you just it has to be very organized. Sometimes it is not very formal, it's not very systematic, so they must be informed about the health policy, the leaves, their rights, their benefits, and all the relevant employees with whom they might be interacting, and all the requirements that are done, all the other employees, whatever they are working at. So they should be given a good picture of the real world. Then on a long-term level, the company provides trainings and to the new employees. So the objective is that sometimes we can have fresh graduates that come into the organization. So they do have degrees, but they do not have the understanding of how to do work. Similarly, if somebody is already having an experience, but the problem they might face is that they might not be working on the kind of softwares that we are using. Despite they having like a good handful amount of experience, they might not have a good understanding of the way of the procedures in which our company is doing the things. So proper trainings are scheduled and they are given to the new employees. Similarly, there has to be a proper training methods that the companies they follow, and they devise these trainings program for the new employees, and basically they just consider what are the training need analysis, which we call it TNA, of the new employees. So based on the training need analysis, they provide them the training. So these are the next stage after orientation. Then we can have like what are the conventional way of trainings we used to have, and still they are on practice. One of them is the on-the-job training. So one can be given a training while they are on the job, and they might be taught during the job like what to be done, how it can be done, and there can be a senior, they can come and guide them on these things. Another very important and very effective mechanism is job rotation. So what they do is they just new employees, they just take them into one department, and then they just new employees, they just take them into one department, and then they let them work over there for like say 1 month, 1 week, and then they move on to another department, and then they ask them to work over there 1 week. So this job rotation helps them to learn about different departments and the way the different departments are working. Another way of traditional training is mentoring and coaching. So like in the football or other games, you are familiar that coaching and mentoring is basically you can just go and just provide them guidance whenever it is required. So what it is done is that they have been assigned a mentor, and they are asked them to reach out to the mentor whenever they're feeling that they have a problem or they want to understand. So the mentor is the responsibility of the mentor to help them in every problems that they are facing with them. uh, while conducting the job. So experiential exercises are the one in which you engage the employees to experiment, and they just go through the things and they just learn, and when they will do it a couple of times, then they become experienced, and they can replicate those kind of exercises by themselves. So this is like what you call it, learning by doing, and this is again a way in which you take the employees and make them to learn by practically engaging into the works. Then these are the workbooks and manuals. They are like, if you happen to go into the job, inshallah, you'll find that you'll be given like lots of workbooks and manuals on the day of recruitment and on your first orientation. So they might ask you to go through these workbooks or manuals. So these manuals will have a description about the company, its history, its organogram, its mission statements, its objectives, and health services. So what are the perks and benefits you have got? What are the rules and regulations of the employees? What are do's and don'ts at the work? Norms and values. So basically, you'll get all the information regarding to the company that they provided into workbooks or manuals. Again, you can also go for a conventional method, that is like providing a classroom lectures. And this again is a very kind of useful, especially all the candidates when they join in and they sit in one classroom, they just interact with each other, and that gives them a very close kind of friendship kind of experience. So they can become very good friends with each other, and what they will do is uh, they for the rest of their lifetime they cherish the times they spent together when they join the company. So that is a great experience for the newcomers. And they just all the time they reach out because they were classmates, so they always reach out to each other, and this also gives them a chance to ask questions from the instructor, and they can just because this is the most conventional method in which most of us we are familiarized with, this can be a very handy way of training new employees. So this is the technology era, and we have got many other options of technology based. So one of the way in which we used to have CD-ROMs, which are no more being used nowadays, DVD, video cassettes, they are not being used nowadays. So you would not find most of the laptops they are equipped with these technologies nowadays. Yes, video conferencing or teleconferencing is another way we can utilize these for the staff that we hire that is physically displaced at distance. So if you have hired like the marketing staff, one is in Al Hassa, another one is in Jeddah, another one is in, say in Riyadh. So the best thing is to utilize the video conferences the way we are doing right now using the Blackboard. So you can use for meeting purposes, Teams is one of the most effective way in which the trainings they can be conducted. E-learning, which is called electronic learning, this is again a very effective way of training employees at work. So what they do is they give them online portals, and there are like courses they are giving over there. So every candidate that open up the course, this is a flexible kind of a learning opportunity that they do. And what they do is they can go through the contents at their own pace, at their own flexibility, while staying at home or at distance, and they just get an access to the courses. There can be video lectures available over there. There can be soft material to read. You can download the material, and they can also give certain quizzes while watching the video and things like that. So I wonder you are familiar with Coursera? Coursera
Yes,
course.
yes, doctor.
Okay. Have you taken any Coursera courses?
Not yet.
Okay. So if you happen to get registered yourself with the Coursera, you will find that they are offering this e-learning kind of courses. You'll watch videos. They might give you handouts to read out, and trainers, they just know how much time you have spent on each content, and the way you progress through the course, and at the end of the completion of the course they give you certification. So e-learning is a very effective mechanism through which we can train employees, which is very much relevant to the trainings, and it is different than conventional kind of training. Okay. Now let's see that when an employee is hired, the next and has been given training, the next most important part for human resource management is to evaluate the performance of the employee, if how well he or she is performing at the job. So this is a very crucial aspect in which we are trying to establish a process for standardizing the performance uh, so that if we have a standard performance, then we can appraise employees' performance accordingly. So first we have to tell them what are the yardsticks, what are the benchmarks that they have to achieve. So once they achieve those benchmarks, then we call that a satisfactory performance, or extraordinary performance, or outstanding performance. So based on the measurable yardstick that we give to our employees. So there has to be a clear roadmap for every employee so that they can achieve that. Basically, these are done on the like standard basis. You have already established the performance management standards, and as we talked about in management by objective, if you recall that management by objective, it can also be established by jointly from like the supervisor and the employee. They can jointly uh, discuss about their targets, and they just see like how they have achieved those targets or not. So basically these are important for performance appraisals. So at the end of every year we used to do performance appraisals, and we see how the employee is performing. So we have to inform him what kind of strengths he has got, what kind of weaknesses he has got, and then it is the responsibility of the human resources to help him to overcome his weaknesses and to work on the strength areas. So this has to be a clear cut, so that the employee should not be confused at what is the performance standards. Okay, so what are the advantages and disadvantages of performance appraisal methods? So as we talked about, the performance appraisal methods are the way we appraise a candidate, an employee, and we are trying to see if he is uh, performing the job or not. So they can be a written essays in which we can ask them to they can use simple use of wording. And the disadvantages of when we ask them to write essays, they are more a measure of elevator's writing and ability than the employee's actual performance. So if they are kind of writing about scenarios, whatever they have faced at the work, so it can be very difficult for us to measure them like what are their performance, what are the issues they have got, even though it can give us a good in-depth understanding of the problems they are having. Another mechanism can be a critical incident or and any incident that is crucial or and any incident that is crucial or that uh, has a profound effect on the job. So it can be behavioral based or any incident in which he has like performed exceptionally well at work. For instance, there was a breakage and all the other employees they were not available, and there was one person who has worked very hard in that critical incident. So you might consider it an important way to measure uh, about his performance. But this can be time consuming, and we cannot quantify one incident with another incident. So that cannot be a very effective way of doing and understanding about the employees and how they have been how we can uh, differentiate one employee's performance from another. So it cannot be standard. So we have to understand like what is the mechanism in which we can conduct these. So this can be a crucial dimension for appraising employees. So the third one is graphic rating scales, in which we provide quantitative data, which is less time consuming than others. So in which there are certain scales about the measurement, and if the employee is performing according to that measurement scales, it is easy for us to take up and see if they are performing the job or not. But in reality, it does not provide us depth of the job behavior. So if it is based on the numbers, like uh, this person has done 10K units production, while the other has got 9K units of production. So it does not give us a right understanding about like what has gone wrong, like this employee could not perform this much. There can be other numerous factors. For instance, the raw material was not available, or there was a shortage of the electricity, or there was no demand, and because of no demand, the company has decreased the production. So there was nothing bad from the behavior of the employees, but he could not run the exceptionally good employee because of the units. So this can be also one of the dimensions. Like even though graphic rating scale is good, but it does not give us the real insights. Then the bars, which is behavioral anchored rating scale, is a scale that assesses performance of a new employees or trainees based on well-defined behavioral patterns. So we are concerned about the behavioral patterns in the employees. So these patterns are used to rate each individual employee. So basically bars are used to differentiate one employee from another on the basis of the behavioral. It focuses on specific and measurable job behaviors of the employees, like how much they are anchored toward the job, what are their specific behavior, are they punctual, are they cooperative, are they do they like their job or they don't like the job. However, this technique can also be time consuming and difficult to develop. So there's no straightforward mechanism to develop these kind of behavior and trying to understand the employees' behavioral dimensions. So it can be challenging. Then we can have another approach that is called multi-person comparison, It means like comparing employees with another. So like how much Mr. X has done the job or how much Mr. Y has performed. So just comparing between two employees. So it's not practicable for a large number of employees, and it may have a legal concern. Like you cannot compare two candidates with one another. So this may raise certain legal aspects, and it is difficult to do for a large scale of employees. This is management by objective. We had studied this. This is like when the supervisor and the employee, they sit together and they discuss what to be done, and they just set their targets and they just try to achieve those targets. So this can be one of the most effective way, but again, it is the advantages are it focuses on the end goals. So instead of like what you are trying to do, whatever the target they're setting, that's what we are looking for. And it is result oriented, not like the process oriented, what is the process of doing it. But again, as we talked in our lectures, if you recall, it can be time consuming and it can be very delaying. At the end of the day, it is just the paper shuffling, you know. So when we are having lots of papers, so it may lose its real essence. Another very effective way is that it's called 360-degree appraisals. 360, we know 360 is like this is the angle 360. So the thing is, in 360 appraisal, basically you get an appraisal from the boss of an employee, its subordinates. They also give this feedback about the employees and his colleagues. So when we get the appraisal from feedback from the boss, feedback from the juniors, and feedback from the so that can be can give us a very good insights about the individual and his personality and job related performance. But again, it can also have an issue that it can be time consuming. So what we have gathered from here is like there's no single technique that does not have all the advantages, and there's no single technique that is flawless and it does not have any disadvantages. But companies apply these on the basis of their need. So who would like to ask a question? Is anybody wants to ask a question, please? Sorry, I did not see your hand at that time. Okay. Okay, it's clear. Now let's see the compensation and benefits. What are the different compensation options the companies can have? Compensation means giving rewards. We are talking about the reward system. Okay, so benefits of a fair, effective, and appropriate compensation system. So if we have a fair system in which everybody has got an equal chance and everybody feels like I have been compensated, so they become very highly motivated employees and they want to work more for the company and they are satisfied. But unfortunately, if we do not have a fair, effective, and appropriate compensation system, then employees feel like they have not been fairly treated, so they might not be very happy with the company and they might be looking to switch over to other companies, and their performance can also decrease. So a good, fair, effective, appropriate compensation system attracts and retain high performance employees. So employees who are working hard, they feel motivated that their hard work is being paid off. So it impacts the strategic performance of the firm. So basically what happens is the company sets some targets and let the employees to achieve those targets, and those high targets, and let the employees to achieve those targets, and those high achiever employees, they achieve those targets. So basically it helps the company to achieve its target. So ultimately it's a win-win situation, provided that is like clearly stated. So the type of compensation, we all know that it can be different kind of compensation. First one can be based on the wage or the salary. So there can be some incentives you can give on the rise of the salary or the wages. Okay, so I told you in the previous lecture that we talk wages for the labor, and wages can be given on a weekly basis or biannually basis. Salary, we use the term for employees who are permanent full-time employees, and they get the salary at the end of the month. So sometimes you can increase the base of which is the base salary, and then there are other perks that are given add-on to the base salary. They can be traveling allowance, they can be housing allowance, So the base is very important because it sums up into your overall salary. So what is going to be the base salary you give to the employees, and if you increase the base salary, they get huge benefits. And then another compensation you can do is to provide them add-on. Like you can give, if somebody is a PhD, so if they have got a PhD, you can give them extra bonus like $2,000 per month or something like that. So this is called add-on. Incentive payments can also be done to the employees when they reach the targets. You can give them certain incentives, like if somebody will sell 5,000 units of the car, then they will be given like 5% extra salary or something, a bonus or something like that. Sometimes the company gives on the skill-based pay, if employees get more certifications or diploma, or they get improve their skills, they give them compensation. Or sometimes you can have a variable pay, like employees who work hard, they might give them a base pay, and then on base pay they give them variable pay, depends on the targets when they are achieving. So in insurance companies you will get this kind of variable kind of pay, which is being added on to the base pay. So we have different options here for compensating employees regarding the monetary benefits. Now, what are the contemporary issues in managing human resources? Human resources, as we talked about, is the most complex machine, and which we deal at the workforce. So the most challenging would be managing downsizing. This can be one of the crucial things for the human resources. So when you are downsizing, what is happening is you are getting rid of some of the employees. So the planned elimination of the job in an organization. So you are, for example, you have got 15,000 employees, and you are planning to decrease them to 12,000 employees. Sorry, this was supposed to be like this, 12,000 employees. So basically you are getting rid of 3,000 employees because of any reason. So this can create a chaos. So obviously the company will go with the champion employees. They will just try to retain the champions, and they will just downsize the employees, they are not very high performers. But the thing is that they will create chaos, and this will create stress among the top performers as well. So they will also feel fear that we might be terminated from the company. So that makes a huge challenge for the company. So what they can do is they in the process of downsizing, they have to be open and honest in communicating. Why? Because they have to tell them the right reasons. So if there's a financial reason, if there's a performance reason, sometimes the companies are downsizing because of the downsizing reason, because of the financially they cannot afford, and that's why they have to downsize. But they have to tell the employees that this is a bitter decision that they are taking, and they would hire them whenever their financial condition is going to be stable. So they should be open and tell them the right reason. Or if this is their strategic uh, reason that the company wants to go to a particular niche, or they want to go for a particular area for the future exploration. So it will help these employees who are staying with the company, because these are very crucial. These are not very important to the company, even though they are important. They have to be dealt legally. If you are not dealing with them legally, then they can be more burden for the company. But the employees which are staying with the company, they are also very important. They should be kept motivating, and they should not be demotivated. So provide assistance to the employees being downsized. So what who are leaving the company, they should be provided assistance, they should be guided, they should be provided full information, and they should give reassurance and counseling to surviving employees so that they should not feel demotivated. Otherwise, your overall morale will go down, and this will negatively affect the overall performance of the company. And then nowadays there is a big issue about diversity, because at workplace we have employees from different countries and cultures and religious background. So this also increases a challenge for the HR. So widen the recruitment net for the diversity, so we can have a diverse workforce, and we ensure that selection without discrimination. So there's a natural tendency, you'll see that if a particular country's employees are hired, and then they just try to hire more of their own country or the culture. So we have to discriminate, the discrimination at work, and it is also legally requirement. So if some processes they are found to be discriminating employees, then it can create a huge backlash on the company's overall performance. So the HR should provide orientation and training. Sorry, do you want to say something? Anyone wants to say something? And then there's a providing orientation and training that is effective to these employees. So as I told you in my class, that in UK we were given diversity training. So we were exposed to different religions, and they were like the questionnaire they used to give us, so that to familiarize us with the other cultures, to familiarize us with the other religions, so we would understand what are the basic philosophies of different religions. So that can be a good point for you to having an understanding. Otherwise, you might see conflicts at workplace because of different understanding of different employees, because of their religious backgrounds or whatever it is. So what are the tips for managing downsizing? As we talked about, downsizing is a very crucial aspect, and especially for the employees, they are kept with the company, because the one they have been downsized, they are crucial, but the one they are just with the company, they have to be kept motivated. So the first step is communication should be open and honest, because when you are not honest, when you are not telling the truth, so people become more suspicious. When you're just trying to hide the things, and then will become more concerned, because 70% of the communication is non-verbal. So the way people talk to each other, and that's not spoken, but this is just felt about the other employee. So the HR should inform those being let go as soon as possible. So it should be informed to them that you probably will not be staying with the company. Tell the surviving employees that the new goals and expectations, so that they should be new goals and expectations, so that they should be clear about what is their new goals and expectations. Probably their new goals and expectations are well within their limits, but sometimes if they are not spoken to them, they might get more scared of it. And then explain impact of the layoffs and why layoffs were necessary, why they could not avoid the layoffs, why it is important for the remaining employees to understand this thing. Follow any laws, regulations, services by the pay and benefits. So if HR fails to follow any law, then they can face huge penalties, because the government, these employees might go to the courts, and if they will win, they can get huge, benefits. So they should provide support and counseling for surviving employees. As we talked about, the surviving employees are very important for the company, because they are the shortlisted employee. But somehow, if they are demotivated, they might leave as well, because they will be missing their friends, and they might get scared that the management has started terminating employees. So this is very crucial for them. So reassigning roles according to the individual's talent and background. So if some senior management has gone, you can give new responsibilities to the employees who are survived. So your whole focus should be boosting on the morale of the employees. So they should be motivated, and they should be committed. So offer individualized reassurance. So HR should go to each and every person and give them individualized, personalized reassurance, that you are the one we are looking for. You are the right candidate for the job. So don't worry about it. You will be with us for the next 10 years or something like that. So they should get personal assurance. So every employee should get a personal assurance. So continue to communicate, especially the one-to-one. So we do one-to-one communication with them. Keep them on board. Listen to their point of view. So remain involved and available. So if, for instance, you are not involved and you are not available, so this can have a strong negative impact on the employees, and they might become demotivated. So there's a growing issue at the workplace where we have a different kind of genders work. We can have male and females. So there can be problems when you are working with the other gender. So this can be an unwanted activity of nature, and it can affect employees, individuals' employment. So one has to understand that when they're working with the other colleagues, they have to stay, they have to watch for their, the way they talk with us. The other genders, they are mostly not very familiar with the kind of jokes and the kind of men they have expectation with each other. So you have to be always polite. You have to be very careful when you are dealing with the other gender. So what happens is, as I told you recently, even though the WhatsApp messages, they have been challenged in the court, and the court has given verdict in favor of the one who considered they are victim. So one has to be very careful while sending even the messages to their colleagues at work. And one of the incident that was uh, reported that there were two colleagues, and I think there was a husband and wife, and the husband sent her a sign of a dagger. I can't make. So in a message, and she just took it like offensive. She thought like he's trying to kill me. So she went to the court, and the court gives a verdict in her favor. Similarly, there can be different emojis you are using on a daily basis, so one has to be very careful. And this can be increased when we are having a huge diversity, and especially in the kingdom, we are opening up, and we might see more and more uh, mixed genders might be at work. So we have to be watchful for this. So HR is the one, they have to make sure that there's an equal opportunity for all of them, and to safeguard each gender, so they should not be harassed, or they should not feel like threatened at work. Similarly, this is more prohibited, like at workplace, there are like two colleagues, they just like each other, and they're just trying to make marriages, but this can also have a turn out to be a potential liability for the organization. So when they might be having quarrels, they might be having fights, and they will just be having a bad impact on the overall organization as well. So this is something the HR is facing nowadays, and it is becoming a great concern for them. Another challenge that HR is facing, that is work-life balance. So most of the time when the HR is setting the performance goals, and most of the employees, they're achieving those goals, but at the cost of their family and at the cost of their friends. So they miss their family, and because of their lots of work, is time is being spent at the work, their family misses them, and then they struggle with the family. So organizations have become more attuned to their employees by offering family-friendly benefits, so they can give them, like if someone is a working lady, they can provide them childcare, and some organization programs summer day camps, so the employees, they can go and spend time in the summer camps. They provide flexi times in which uh, they can choose a time for that suits them. For especially females, there was a job for receptionist. They gave it to two females. One can come in the morning, and other can come in the evening. So you can do the jobs like this. There is another concept of a job sharing, and that's what I was just telling you. Flexi is like when you can opt for the different point in time. Then they also provide leave for personal matters, and another option is flexible job hours. So can work for like 5 hours, something like 15 hours. It depends on the person. So HR is just trying its level best to come up with any option in which the individuals can get a work-life balance. But this is a growing concern of the 21st century. Now, what are the controlling HR costs? Employees' healthcare is, again, if the work-life balance is not there, they might have a huge healthcare budget. And so an employee should be encouraged healthy lifestyle. They should have financial incentive, well-being in program, and then charging employees with poor health habits more for benefits. So the employees, they have bad health, they just become more burden for the company. So the company would like to have employees with have a good healthy lifestyle. Similarly, the employees' pension plans, they are like being decreased in the worldwide. I saw it in the UK. The pension plans, they are like being decreased in the worldwide. I saw it in the UK. The pension plans are being reduced, and even the governments cannot afford the pensions. So, as Richard Kawasaki says, that we need to teach people how to plan their finances. So, because of the pension plans going down, the employees have to struggle, and that's why they need to be having very vigilant future perception. So there can be reduction in the pension benefits, no longer providing pension plans, and that's what is happening around the worldwide. Okay, by this we are to the end of today's lecture. Now we can stop here, and if you have any questions, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you, Abdul Latif. Okay, have a great holidays and remember me in prayers, inshallah, and see you after this 1 week midterm break. Have a good time, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank